of the Ohio State game, I mean, obviously Dawson did what he did, but do you feel like there was a little bit more of like a supporting cast, like a Cam or somebody else that would try to, make it so that's just not on Dawson's shoulders that you carry over?
I thought the big thing was we finally got settled. Like it took us. That was the main issue for me. Was it can't take you 10 minutes to get settled into a game. I thought we ended the half with momentum, and that carried over to the second half. To be able to climb back from being down 22 and with under 4, it was a 6-point game. But I thought guys got settled, and then I thought the turnovers. It's the obvious, right? In the first half you have 9, in the second half you have 4. That helps you get back into a game. So it's like those first 10 minutes we have to continue to emphasize and talk about having a better finish, with just not being, whether it's careless, whether it's casual, whatever you want to call it, with the ball.
Ben, did you feel like it took a little while to get Dawson going? I think he didn't have a shot for the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and I thought part of that was, credit Ohio State. Obviously they knew they were going to try and make stuff harder for him, especially early. You don't ever want to give a good player that early confidence and get him to a rhythm early. So credit to them. But it gets into that settling part. We can't ease into a game like that. We got to impose our will earlier and better. And I think, I showed our guys the first possession of the game was kind of like a microcosm of the first half, where we did everything right defensively. We had all our coverages. We went under. We tagged. We got the stop. We had the rebound, literally had the rebound in our hands, and it gets slapped out. And then that slap out turned into a banked-in 3, right? And it's like that was the microcosm of the first 20 minutes, where you do everything right, but you don't end a possession, or just a little detail that you have slippage on. Good teams make you pay, especially in a league game on the road. And we got to really, really, really just tighten up on that.
When it comes to offensively, other than Dawson, as far as the role for each guy, I know it probably varies from game to game, but is there a certain couple guys that you're saying maybe moving forward that, like, hey, you can't expect that from him, every night? Like, there's probably
right.
opportunities for you, especially like to start the game, to kind of insert yourself a little bit.
Right. I think we have, good offensive players. And I think for us, the key is to get good shots in our offense after the ball has been moving. And obviously Dawson's got to give a early look. We got to seek that out. But then after that, we just get in trouble when we take the no pass or the one pass shot, whether that's early in offense in transition or in our half court. We're a much better team when we play inside out and that ball is swung. If that ball is reversed and swung, then we have capable players that can go make a play. Obviously Cam's got a talent to go get a basket. Mike Mitchell has talent to score from 3, score from mid-range, get to rim to make a basket. Braden's proven. Pharrell's in the game. Pharrell can score it. So we have capable scorers, and now it's more about you want to make the defense work. Right, we leave the defense off the hook when we're guarding for 20-plus seconds, and then we go down, we take a quick shot, and they never have to defend. You never wear them down. And I think when you have good players, the more ball movement you have, you're going to go from having a good shot to maybe a great shot.
Ben, I know before New Orleans we talked about starting 5 and what you were thinking and contemplating all those things. Where are you and Pharrell starting the game now?
So, and for Pharrell, that's a unique one. And it's more because when you play him, do you lose the advantage early with Dawson? And what I mean by that is, all right, if a 5 is uncomfortable guarding in space or guarding Dawson, or I feel like we have the advantage, that's the hardest thing to weigh. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, especially him coming off a game where he's got a, all right, do we negate the advantage a little bit less when now a 4 can match up with Dawson, who's maybe got quicker feet, could guard the drive, versus, all right, how does this team defend and what does their 5 look like? Pharrell's still going to play, I've told him this, whether he starts or not, he's now able to go that 25 to 31 minutes range. He's been able, this is the first time all year, continue to go through practices, no reps off. So now he's built that in. So he's really going to still be playing, those starter minutes, whether I do or not. The other question is just more of like, okay, what does help us get off to better starts versus Nebraska? If it's not that, is it something with the perimeter? Is it a little bit more ball handling? Is it what is that? What does that look like? But it's a fair. I get your question, and it's a. I think that's where I got to look at. Okay, who are we playing, and then the matchups? Because again, not that Pharrell or Dawson at the 4 can't get it going, but it's like what puts us into an advantage with one of our better players early, if that makes sense.
It seemed like in the second half, Ohio State switched different guys on Dawson, and sometimes like a Jamison or Evan.
Yep, Mahaffey. Yeah.
They're smaller fours where the matchup is probably a better for him maybe to play, not the 5 position.
And especially, when you do that, now you're going to force a post double, right? So if he can go against a smaller 4 where now you could throw him in the post, well, if those guys are playing behind, you're going to force a post double. Or against versus Ohio State, I think he got those guys in a one-on-one where now you're able to get to the rim and score it. And so again, you're trying to kind of balance it. The good part is he's played good enough where now I want to have control of who's feeling uncomfortable, right? Whereas sometimes the defense can dictate. Like most teams will say, all right, screw it, we're going to go small and force you to go small. Well, now if they go small, you're also going small against one of our guys who can play big or small. So I like that because now we dictate, the matchups more. And then again, the second piece is if, regardless of who you bring off the bench, and I think we got multiple guys that can start, Pharrell being one of them. Pharrell now is going against a second unit big, and that maybe not the first guy the entire time. So you also look at that like, okay, I think we could win out with Dawson against anybody versus his matchup with the 5 and the 4. But now a luxury is if you do bring Pharrell or a guy like that off the bench, or even, Mike, who's a capable, or Kemp, whoever it is, those guys are also typically going against a second unit position player. And so I think that also can be another advantage. And he's in a good rhythm. So, but again, I've told our guys that we will have multiple lineups throughout the year, and most of it will depend on a matchup or what we think we can get. And a lot of times it's not necessarily, you don't always pull a guy because maybe they're playing bad. Sometimes it's no, you could be playing great, but this matchup offensively or defensively to get us off to a good start, or what we look for in the first 10 minutes could be better if we go with this lineup.
Ben, obviously nothing in this league is decided in December, but just what's the overall sense of urgency and the desperation level for this group to avoid an 0-2 start and get a win tomorrow night?
Well, I just think like anything, I think if you talk to any coach in the league, obviously even in early December, you want to be able to set the tone, right? We know winning on the road is really hard. We've always talked about, being able to stay at home and have that home court advantage, to be able to win at home and be able to have momentum. I think more than anything, the hardest thing to me about this part is because it's broken up, where if it was just straight through, it's just a different feeling for whatever reason. When you get to January, you're just going straight Big Ten, versus now you feel like, okay, if you win, there's a momentum piece that can carry you through December to January. If that makes sense, because of the break. And so from that standpoint, it's a long year. So I don't want our guys to feel like, oh man, there's crazy pressure. They know, like, you want to win every game, right? You want to, especially in league play, you want to win every game. I also know that let's use this as it could be a big momentum piece for us for the rest of the month that then carries you into January. But it's like any game, we're a game-by-game team. Obviously, Nebraska's a unique challenge, but I look at it, whether it's Nebraska or Gulf Coast, wherever we play at home, being able to control home court because it's so hard to win on the road. To me, that's can we make that the emphasis? Can we make that the staple of what we're trying to do is win your home games?
So obviously Dawson has made it very clear that he really wants to win, just based on what he did after Missouri and then his performance against Ohio State. So have you seen his heart and his grit kind of rub off on his teammates at all?
He has, and I've talked about it. The hardest thing. So now you look at this team and we've got more depth. We've increased our talent, and so now the piece that we've got to figure out is, for guys that maybe haven't experienced winning at this level, how do you develop a winner's mindset early? Because that's so much of it, right? If you haven't experienced winning, like Parker experienced at Division II level at a high level, Player of the Year, NCAA tournament, national championship game, and Elijah's experienced it being in the NCAA tournament. But outside of that, nobody else has won. And so how do you teach that And it is a guy like Dawson. Like Dawson can fall back on in times of doubt. I'm a McDonald's All-American. All right, I've played at a high level and I've had success. So like if adversity were to ever hit, he's got something to fall back on. So I told him, you've got to use that to help the other guys who might not have that to instill confidence in them. And I thought that was one of the best things he did. So him and Elijah were the two guys in timeouts that in the first half and second half always were talking about, we're going to find a way, we're going to find a way. It's a lot easier for those guys to say it because they've won, right? Or they've had success. There's something they can fall back on. So I told them, you have to lean in on that and give these other guys confidence until they experience and go through winning. Well, now they can say, you know what? We are going to find a way, right? Like I talked to our team about, this game, no matter who we end up playing, right? After a loss, we got to start developing that feeling that, like when I was coming up, the old Duke teams would have. So, like, if you watch Duke go to Miami and get upset, you're always thinking, like, damn, who do they got? Who do they play next at home? Like, oof, right? And if you're that other coach, you're thinking, all right, we got to be 10 points better than these dudes because they're going to be on one. Well, they do that because it's like ingrained in them that they don't lose, right? They win. There's many teams like that in our league. How do we develop that? All right, how do we have that mindset? Again, it happened to be Nebraska, but we could be playing anybody tomorrow. The mindset of, all right, you lose, you take one on the chin. Like, especially at home, the bounce back mentality and the confidence of, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to find a way to win. Developing that when you finally have a team that can do it in the early part of the year, that's what I'm about. Because that will pay off down the line. That will pay off in January and February because you're going to hit adversity. But we've got to get that one to get us over the top so that all of our guys can fall back and say, you know what? Hey, we did it that time. We found a way. And then you get confidence from that.
Have we seen the real Carrington yet? He seems to be unlucky. He gets a foul. He's ready to go, and somebody gives him a foul that looks like it's a cheap one.
Exactly. And
he looks like he never has anything good happen for him.
And I'm going to knock on wood. I don't want to get fined, and I think the refs do a great job. I really do. I do. I don't say a lot to those guys, but I do think, man, he got some tough ones on him last game. And I think I told him yesterday, I just said, don't change what you're doing, even though you got fouls called and you got out of the rhythm, because what you're doing is really good. I think for a sophomore, the step he's taken from last year to this year to be a defender that we can rely on has been huge. And he has some misfortune, some luck. When this year it was like literally 2 games before the game, he hurts his wrist, and he could have. And he was shooting the crap. I mean, I'm just telling you, he was shooting the crap out of the ball. Everything. He hurts his wrist. So now I think last game was the first time he felt confident not having something on it. So hopefully he's able to spin it because you feel for him. I mean, if you guys knew the practices he's had, the workouts he's had, I mean, everything has been. He was going to make a major jump, and I still think he will. He just got to catch a break, and it's a little bit like our guys. I want our guys to catch a break, right? Like whether it was Missouri game, I mean, it felt like every shot that they needed to go in went in, right? And some of it was our doing, but we need to find again we can create our own luck, and you do that by continuing to play hard. And we just need that one break that gets you over the top, right? That one player needs that one break that he has that one game where he sees it go in or has that great stop where now that carries him to the next game, especially when you're dealing with incoming guys that are new and sophomores that are trying to make a jump that are relatively new. But we got to create that own luck. And I think once you do and you can finally flip it, well, now again with the talent that we have now and the grit that we have, I do think we can go on a run.
Transformed his body a little bit. He looks like
Big time. Yeah, no, I mean, again, like the jump he's taken from just physically and what he weighs now, being able to be confident in that. Like, I don't think people that play to understand the physical part, especially in this league, and Elijah and Mike are realizing that. I think, and we could tell them, I guess I try to tell you guys, dude, Ohio State is grown men. Thornton is a 19-year-old bull, right? And I can say that so I'm blue in the face, but until they feel that and they're like, whoa, right? Braden, again, as a freshman, most freshmen don't. He's going through it, trying to develop. But now, to physically gain the weight that he gained and the strength, that adds confidence. So he's a better defensive player because he's been through our system, but he's also confident-wise, feels like I can guard anybody because I'm physically able to get through a screen, to fight over a ball screen, to go. I mean, the rebounds he gets now, he's getting them because he's not afraid about getting hit because he's got added strength. So that's a mentality piece. That's the confidence piece, again, that we're trying to build with these guys, and it's everywhere you look, right? It's confidence and free throws. Well, if you look at our numbers free throw wise, they're pretty good. We got like 4 or 5 guys at 80%, right? The same guys that last year, it's a trickle down. You see a couple guys miss them, it can easily spiral, and it's like the next guy doesn't want to go up to the line because, like, man, we're like 0 for 5 as a team. Vice versa. All of a sudden, a couple guys bang them in early. It's momentum. Now, all of a sudden, you look and it's like, damn, that guy's shooting 81, 80, 80, 80, 80. And it's just finding ways for this team to find miniature wins is so big when they don't have a lot to fall back on because we just haven't done it yet. And that's where we got to improve. We've got to win so they can feel that confidence and know that, like, whatever's going to happen, we're going to find a way to win and have that, I call it competitive ego. That's the step. We got to have competitive ego.
How many games did you lose in last year shooting 62% from the free throw line or whatever it was?
Well, we were in, if my memory is correct, we were in, I think it was 3 to 6 games. I think we're 1 or 2 possession. But to your point, I'd have to look back. But there are games where, okay, you go to the line, and if it's a one-on-one and you get empty, that could stop a run. To me, that's the one. It's like we've proven this year we can get to the line. So we've got to use the free throw line to be able to stop runs where now we don't have a job. We can throw it inside to Pharrell or Dawson or whoever, and it's like, okay, even if you don't get both, you get one, it prevents a run and a drought, and you can win at the line, right? And again, I think we're a team that in the second half, we're going to be able to hopefully extend leads now at the free throw line versus keeping games close and use that to our advantage. I mean, again, our numbers show that we have a talent for getting there, and now it's like that needs to be a part of our winning offensive DNA is to take advantage of the free throw line to prevent runs or for us to increase runs.
The boys on TV told us that the coaches don't like, the Big Ten coaches unanimously don't like the 2 December Big Ten games. I don't know if they just putting words in people's mouths.
You know what? Honestly, I don't know if we've. I'm trying to think back. I don't think we've talked about it on any of our coaches' calls. It is. I get why they do it. It is tough though. I understand why they do it. It is tough. I think when you're obviously an older team that's established, it's different. Like anything, because you've got multiple guys that have gone through it, so you can almost use it as an advantage. For us, it can be a little bit tougher just because the standpoint, you just worry, are your guys ready? Do they fully understand and grasp? Are they ready to take advantage of the opportunity, right? Like, I think we're going to be a team that continues to get better, and I don't want to blow – you don't want to blow as a coach anything early that you could take advantage of just because of the fact that you're not ready. It's just like preseason tournaments. Everybody wants to play in them. I want to play in them. But it's like, are we ready to do that and take advantage of it, right? And then if we do, who are we playing and what type of tournament are we playing or what type of home and home are we playing? I think like I said, I get it. I think it's great. I also do think that the break, it is a little funky. When you get ramped up for 2 that are high profile, could dictate a lot, and then you do have that break, but at the same time, it is what it is.
You got a month to look at 0-2 if you lose is the other thing, right?
Yeah, or if you win, here's what you worry about if you win now. If you win, so, now you're looking at, all right, if the rest of your games are quote-unquote high-level games, is now guys going to be casual. And now you're going to develop bad habits before you got to ramp it back up. Because I think that's the hard part is like these 2 games are now, and depending on what your schedule looks like earlier on, then you've got habits you got to keep. So you got 2 heightened games, depending on what you got, and then you got to have to ramp it up again. And so it's just it adds something else you got to try to just juggle mentality wise. Again, it's easier to do when you got a mature team that gets it.
Is there any word on what they're going to do next year, schedule-wise?
I have not heard.
They're playing 14 of them once and 3 of them twice.
Really?
For a 20-game schedule. Yeah.
I honestly have not heard.
It's a lot of travel.
Yeah, I think selfishly, I'm happy that because we're in the middle. I would not want to deal with being on either end.
Well, they put you in 14 pods, like in the old days, everybody had travel partners.
Yeah.
Now the numbers don't work because you can't, 4 does not go into 18 very smoothly.
Yeah.
So-
Well, the thing that's really hard is, you talk about just the student athlete welfare standpoint of it, and let me know how that. Right. Like how does that? It's like sometimes you get choosy when we want to use that phrase and that word, and now you're talking about, okay, if you go on a West Coast swing, what does the travel back look like? Because if you fly back right after the game, does it make sense to land? If you've been out there for a week, so you got to adjust to the time zone because you're going to go with travel partners out there. So you'll be out there for a full week. So now you get used to being behind. Well, then if you come back right after the game, you're getting in at like 5. They're trying to adjust and you got class. Versus, okay, you don't come back right after the game. You come back in the morning. Well, then that whole next day, they're not in class, right? And now your whole next day, yeah, it's an off day, but you're traveling. And now after being out there a week, you're trying to get your clock back readjusted. So that one hurts, but then you worry as a coach, you worry about the game coming back because it's going to be a home game. It's just like I said, it's hard to win on the road. You want to not get banged on the road, and then when you come back for one that you want to win, it's like that's the tough one because it's like, okay, if we can get road wins, that's icing on the cake. But we want to be able to count on playing well at home. Are you making sure with the travel and the time change, you're able to be rested and take advantage of the home game on your way back? That's the one that I'm more worried about.
How's the health?
Right, good. Knock on everything. Yeah, no, we are good. We've been blessed. We've been good.
How's your health?
I'm good. I'm good. Good.